I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Well, look at that. You got a sneak peek of what's going on. Anyway, how many times a day do you find yourself struggling with business? How many times? Well, we're going to explore some of the ways to deal with that. But before we do that, thank you for being here. If you're live today with us, thank you. If you have some comments or questions, throw them at us and we'll do our best to address them. And if you're watching us on the replay, hashtag replay, let us know where you're listening in from. And again, if you have a question that you want to get answered, fire it our way and we'll do our darndest to get it done. And also, if you could share this out to your friends, if you see value in these Business Renovator episodes, that would be terrific. And last but not least is go to our YouTube channel and share it out, or actually subscribe, and remind people to subscribe to it as well. But in the meantime, I have a shameless plug from my sponsor. Just bear with me as I bring them up. Do you have a question for a business coach? You're in luck. There's two of us on today, both of us for the same organization, but we're aligned with several hundred other esteemed business coaches around the globe with a variety of different skill sets, expertise. So if we can't answer your question, we could share your information and have a connection to somebody who's more of an expert in that particular field. For the key areas that we would start with would be some things around time, team, money, and exit strategy. Now with exit strategy, I always like to talk about success too, because not everybody wants to exit their business, but some do. And if you're on the side where you're too young to retire, don't want to retire, but you've had so much success, what's the next step? We could assist you with that as well. So isn't this exciting to have two of us on the show at the same time? And how many times a day do you find yourself struggling with your business? Well, we're going to address some of those today with my esteemed guest, Chris Dekle. A little bit about him. He's been involved in the big data, direct marketing, and generated millions of leads back in the day for the cell phone companies, and the business his partner and him built from nothing and built it up to $25 million. I think he knows a thing or two. I'm just saying. And since then, he's been focusing on generating leads and driving traffic using the internet, and ran a very successful campaign for 417 UPS stores. You know, little brown trucks, 417 UPS franchise stores. So to increase the store traffic back a few years ago, he was using SEO and social media as a focal point area representative, with his buddy John. They've experimented with ways to generate leads from social media and websites. So if you would like to ask us some questions in and around that, or share what your frustrations are with running a business, I'm going to bring up my esteemed friend. I think I've known him physically. The first time we got together was in San Diego, and we had a cocktail at one of our conferences. So welcome, Chris Dekle. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. If it got any better, it would probably be illegal.
Well, that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. So what a crazy title we came up with. How many times a day do you find yourself struggling with your business? I'm thinking with all the experience that you've had over the many years of being an entrepreneur, that you've had a few days yourself where you were struggling with your business?
I don't think there is anybody in business that has not struggled and frankly continues to do so. It's just the bigger you get, the better you can hide it.
Ah,
So, let me tell you, I think I've made every mistake that there's been to make. But I have also saved myself from making them worse by paying attention to what people did and lessons they learned. So I didn't have to repeat their mistakes. And uh, everybody is going to make mistakes. The only way you're not going to make mistakes is not do anything. So any entrepreneur, anybody that runs a business, you got three things that happen. Something comes up, you have to take action. You either know what to do, you can ask your team, or if nobody has the answer and you have to make it up, well, you make your best shot and learn from it. So you try to protect yourself from making fatal mistakes, but everybody has these frustrations and problems in business. So because you're having them doesn't mean you shouldn't keep doing it. You just perhaps need to be more aware of yourself, of your team, and learn things. If you're not reading a book a month at least about business and uh, things you don't know anything about that are key to business, like managing people. What is the psychology of people? How does it change? How do you adapt so that you're effectively talking to them? So it's not a presentation from the dais. It's a conversation that you're having between two people who are trying to, desperately make this thing work. Let me tell you, people are the key to your business. If you're having frustrations, it's likely because you either have got some of the wrong people in the wrong seats, or you've got a mistaken idea of how to manage them. Actually, about 99% of the people I ever hired, and I've hired a bunch of them, they desperately wanted to do their very best and be successful. What got in their way was either rules, processes, or people that were toxic managers. Uh, your job as a business owner, and this is a good way to think about it, is put people in the seats where they can be successful. If it's not where they are, figure out where that should be and help them get there. They, Everybody is good at something. Your job is to put them in the right place, give them the right training, the right information, the right leadership. So much of what I went wrong and didn't work out as well as I'd hoped to was all related to either failure to find the right people or understand them, manage them incorrectly, or sometimes we just plain flat get stuck. I had a situation with a sales force. Now, my background wasn't sales, so I mean, there are a lot of things I understand a lot about, but sales, I'll be honest, was not one of them at the time. So uh, I got stuck on a problem that I could not solve, but I was smart enough to go to the only people around there weren't coaches at that time, and you went to the largest CPA firm, which now is one of the biggest in the Southeast, and said, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this. I don't know how to solve it. Do you know anybody that could help?" Well, if we'd only had coaches, I'd have probably gotten that answer. Uh, but we struggled along with it, and we finally got it to work. But it was a painful process. So, you know, if you're having problems, don't be afraid to talk about them with other people. Go out and find a coach. I mean, that's what we're here for. We've dealt with all kinds of situations, uh, everything from a business where the primary owner bought the business, with his wife, moved down here from Canada, and he got killed in an automobile accident 3 months after they opened it. And this was in the building trades at the start of the 2010 meltdown of the housing industry. So you run into everything from stuff like that to people that have put one of their family members in a position in their company, given them great authority, and they have absolutely zero experience in anything, including managing people. And predictably, after about 6 months, everybody is ready to leave. So these are the kind of things you run into. This is real life with small business.
right.
The question is, how do you take advantage of it? What do you do about it?
So you've thrown us with a fire hose of stuff, and I'm going to backtrack and stop you for a bit because everything you said there is poignant and an important piece of it. I was only able to write down 4 bullets that I got. And what I got out of this was making sure that when we're building a team, that we put them on the right seat on the bus. And if they don't fit in that particular bus, they're not the driver, they're not the conductor, or they're not a passenger, then we need to move them around to the seat where it makes sense to leverage their talents. I'm thinking with what you're thinking, right?
Precisely.
Okay. And then you said there was 3 things after that you, and I didn't get what the 3 things were. Do you recall what they were? Am I putting you on the spot unfairly?
I'm free flow. I'm not sure I've got I don't have a good tape deck.
Well, you know what's good about that? This is recorded, so I can go back, and so could our guests go back and get those, to look for the 3 things early on in his conversation. And then the other thing that you talked about was to people in business fail to find the right people, and they probably haven't been trained or could use a little assistance in coming up with ways to get the right people. I know there's one strategy that Brian Tracy talks about and who we're both affiliated with. He says use the 3-3-3. So the 3-3-3 system doesn't work all the time, but it is a system you can try, test, and measure. Do you know what the 3-3-3 is? I'm putting you on the spot, right?
Yeah. No.
Well, you interview the candidate 3 times, 3 different people in 3 different locations. And the reason for that is, have you ever been on a date? Or, okay, we've all have been on a date. So how do we show up with how we think we should show up in our best behavior, right? The first time, usually most of us do. And so the job process, also looking for a job, looks often the same way. But if we take people into a different environment with some, I'm not suggesting that on a date you have your date go out with somebody else. That's not good. That's not good. But go to a couple of different places and see how you interact with each other. Mm-hmm. Same is true in business. If you were to go to 3 different places, have 3 different people, interview the candidate, then you'll find out what they're really like, and you can get back. But that requires a team that you can trust to be able to do that, which is go back to what you just said. And then the last thing that I got out of the 4 nuggets in your talk there was talk to others. Don't be afraid, because there's power in speaking to others. You and I talk often, mm-hmm. sometimes way too often, but never regrettable. We always get a nugget or 2 out of it.
Yeah, I want to riff a little bit about the 3-3-3. If the process, there's a few things I know now that I wish I had known then, but knowing what I do now, I would do things a bit differently. Today, we have excellent pre-screening assessments we can use with viable candidates that can measure things that are really important. What's their style like? What's their personality, communication like? What are they likely to be good at? What are their motivators? What makes them tick? What gets them out of bed in the morning? And then in some cases, what skill set do they have? Do they know how to do the basics of a job? So those are very good. Now, if you've got somebody that you're going, for instance, here's one. If you have somebody that might be a little rough around the edges, but they're brilliant, and you're wondering, well, God, I'd love to have this person's expertise, but I don't know whether this guy is going to ever change. And if he's like this, I can't put him in where I need him. So if you could measure their coachability, will they accept coaching? That would be a great thing to know. So there are assessments that will give you that kind of information. So use the assessments. That's number 1. With anybody that you get kind of serious about. Second thing is, take that person, if you think this is really a good candidate for it, and let him talk to your people and let them interview that person, because they will show up different she will show up differently with them than they do with you. And you seldom ever make a mistake after you've given them to your team to talk to.
I like that. It really ties into 3-3-3, doesn't it? It's a variation of that, and I'm not locked on it. The only way to find somebody who's with 3-3-3 is just one strategy.
It's a good framework to hang.
Yeah, absolutely. In my local marketplace, when I was volunteering for some hockey stuff, one of the guys who was the president of the tournament was a senior level leader with the city that I live in. And one of the things that I learned from him in their hiring process is that they would do the group process where because they were looking for skilled or unskilled people to work in the parks for the city. And what they did was invite people to come to a group interview. And if they showed up on time, didn't show up, all those things help them understand how they would show up at the park to be, raking leaves or cutting grass or pruning trees. So there's no one best way to hire. Just make sure that you have a way and you're flexible and adaptable is one of the things I would think in terms of that process, because the market conditions change, right?
Absolutely. When you've got a lot of candidates, you can be a lot pickier than you are right now, where it's hard to find people no matter what you do.
Well, going back to the assessments, I want to just add on to that just because it came to my head. Dr. J, who I first got introduced to the behavioral assessments of DISC, she said that there's two things I want to talk about. She said that having a DISC assessment can save about up to 2 years of getting to know the people that are on your team. Phew. How impactful is that? That's huge, right? Return on energy and equity and investment. And then the other thing is vaporized in my imagination now. It's gone. So that happens, right? Well, if it comes back, I'll bring it back into the conversation. But certainly the assessments do help us. Oh, it just came back. They do help us get to know the people a little bit better than in addition to the interview process. I think what you said earlier was to leverage assessments. So the other thing is it's not to do with the assessments, but hiring fast, it could be one of the worst things you ever do. So hire, and maybe you could speak to this because you ran a company with a bunch of employees, and hiring fast can be detrimental if you get people into the company that will do more harm than good.
Yeah, Brian Tracy says it really well. Hire at leisure, fire in haste.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty good advice. You have somebody, don't fall in love with your decision because it may be wrong. And the way you cross-check that is, hey, have them talk to other people in the company. They won't get to them on the same day. And anybody can show up and show off. But the question is, can they keep this up? And you'd be amazed at what kind of a BS detector your employees have. They saved me from hiring some really, toxic people.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it's a way to do what Brian says. Hire at leisure.
I even used that strategy when we were building a hockey team, and I learned it from one of the cohorts that I worked with as a coach. I was an associate coach. He was a head coach. And he would ask the team what he thought about different adults that we were thinking about adding to the team as, a manager or another associate coach, or if it's a player, if they knew the kid, what do they think about him? And we put a lot of weight on that kind of stuff. It's really powerful, the feedback that you get, because the spidey sensors of other people see things that we may not see because we're too we're too involved, attached to it.
Confirmation bias. The guy, it's confirmation bias. We don't see the hickeys.
No, exactly. So we talked about people as numero uno. What other struggles have you experienced in your years of being an entrepreneur that you would think would be something to share?
I'll give you another one. Is having a good business plan, one that is short enough that it's. I have done strategic plans in the day that they were we build them for the thud effect. If you could pick it up and drop it on a desk and rattle the desk in the next office, it was a wonderful plan. Now the odds of those things doing anything besides holding doors open is about zero. So the key is develop a business plan that you can see all the way around, that moves you towards your goal. And most people try to put 50 things in there they're going to try to do. People don't work that way. You can't manage a business that way. Pick out the 3 essential or maybe 5 absolutely key things you have got to do this year. to improve your business and reach whatever you're trying to, get to this year. I mean, be realistic about it, of course, but, get a few things and execute well rather than 50 things and, just dance from one to the other and go nowhere. So, there's this real strategy for doing that and keeping it simple and focused, and then have a way to measure it. Phil and I will talk about, measure is the key. It's kind of like, whatever you expect, be able to measure it and look at it frequently and make that a focus of your meetings. So they don't wander and they're not general. This is great. So it's a good opportunity for you to take the information that you've got about somebody or about a situation and say, okay, what are the key things that have to happen to make this work? What are the 3 or 4 things? Is it like, if it's sales calls, well, how many qualified leads do they get? How many times do they contact a person? What is the result? How many of those are turning into deals? That's a really kind of simple, version of it. But you can measure how much activity they're getting, how much they're doing with it, and how many deals they're closing. There are 3 numbers that you can look at any day of the week and see whether, if I expect 10 a week and you're seeing 2, well, you haven't got to go very long before you've got a real problem you got to go solve. It could be the person, it could be the leads, it could be a lot of things, but that's the power of measuring what you expect.
So do you see who's here?
Yes.
Say hi to Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, and what gets measured gets done, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, Steve's a real good example of that.
Man is an economic animal. What you measure and what you pay for is what you're going to get.
Yeah. Just want to flip. Steve has taken the measuring component and actually took it to his personal life and turned his cottage property into a cottage. Cottage is really, it's a beautiful home. So they built that, but he did that by setting goals and measuring things, and it's pretty cool. Speaking of goals, how important are goals in business?
Well, there's actually, goals are part of a framework. If you don't have a vision for your company and you don't have a mission for what you're trying to accomplish, you don't have values that are the rock, the thing that makes you credible. I mean, it gives you integrity. You follow your values, and that gives you integrity. After you've got those, then you can set goals that are consistent with your vision, your values, and your mission. So once you've got the goals, I mean, again, these are the, when you talk, they're kind of a hierarchy of way you can talk about it, but goals are the 3 or 4 big things that you're going to accomplish this year to move your business forward. And they ought to be the top ones that are going to move it the furthest that you can, realistically. And then you subdivide that down and, divide it up by division and, responsibility. And it just cascades down, but you can't do any of it if you don't have that mission, vision, values locked in.
So what I want to do right now is bring this on. Hang on, it's coming. There we go. So I'm going to add another component to this. Just bear with me in the back office here. Make sure that people can see what we're talking about. What this is called the Business Clinic. And this is a site what Chris is a partner in. And there's a whole bunch of great resources there for small, medium-sized businesses, access to assessments, and there's so much stuff on here. Maybe you could give us a quick intro to what's all there.
Well,
just a high level, of course.
Yeah. And I'm sorry we have to do a detailed walkthrough of this, but no. Here's the thing: businesses come in all sizes, and people in businesses are at different stages of development. Having been in all of those situations, what I did when we were putting this together was We built things that talk about the frustrations and kind of the way people think about what they're seeing in general areas, so you have some idea about what we might do. But one of the things that I really focused on was providing a lot of free material, free assessments, and some just absolutely the best business wisdom you can buy practically, that are books by Brian Tracy that are bestsellers internationally. They're excellent. You can download them off of the website. There's no strings attached. It's really designed to let you grow yourself. If you read those, you will be so much smarter about running a business just from reading them that you may be able to solve the problems yourself. If you want to go faster, or if you're stuck, well, that's what Phil and our coaches like us are here for, to help you unstuck.
So I'm going to just jump in for a minute. I'm looking at a page here. It's really hard to read. So I'm going to read out some of the things that are there. Whether you're a law office, a marketing agency, a family-owned HVAC company, commercial construction company, a freight logistics company, or a sunglass manufacturer. Things are common, like 140% increase in revenue in 11 months, 4 times X revenue in 4 years, from 200 to 7 figures in investments in under 6 months. That's a logistics company. 15 years of breaking even, no longer there. They're actually turned a profit for the first time after 15 years. So taking it from a job just over broke, for example, into an entity that runs with or without you and is actually a business. It's not just a job with perks. And there's a list of others on here. I just wanted to touch base on that because time's ticking. And if you wanted to go there, you just go to thebusinessclinic.net and you can read all this stuff that's there. It's really difficult to see it on your screen, I imagine, because I can hardly read it. I'm seeing it on a larger screen because I'm in the director's chair. And it's an interesting chair to sit on. Here, we got another comment. Oh, look at this. Steve Lowry agrees. Vision, mission, and core pillars are very important to the journey of success. Matter of fact, the company that he's with actually have that in place. And when I've been working with them, we make sure that we repeat that every time we had a group session. We look at the core pillars and the vision and the mission statement that the company came up with the people, not just from the top down. It was from the bottom up, from the top down. They met in the middle and created a group of people that came up with them. And they're clear, concise things to do. And if you pay attention to what this company's doing, they're having fantastic growth, but at the same time, they're building a fantastic culture and they invest in their people. So going back to what you started off with at the beginning of this today, Chris, was people are the key. And that's a good way to kind of wrap this up, I think. Just going to share the screen here, and I'm going to go right to you. Look at that magically. You're the business kind of guy. I chopped your head off, but so
that's an improvement.
What's one thing that you would like to share with the viewers that are watching today live or on a replay at another time that you think would be really important for them to know?
I think probably the most important thing for you to do is learn how to manage people with excellence. So people run your business. You can take everything. If you can have the best of everything, the biggest bank account, the biggest computer, this most impressive building, and if there is nobody in it, you haven't got a business. People or your business. So learn how to manage them with excellence. You'll find out if you do it right. It's the easiest thing in the world. They will self-manage and surprise the heck out of you with what they will accomplish with you not being involved. In fact, if you get involved, you'll probably mess it up. So I always said the thing I'm trying to do is find people that can replace me that are better than I am, because if they're not better than I am, we're in real trouble.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's great sage knowledge to share with our audiences. Thanks for giving up some of your time to hang out with us today. I appreciate that.
Fantastic. I mean, always a pleasure to be on and talk about this stuff, Phil.
It doesn't crank you up much, does it?
No, it really doesn't. I almost fell asleep, as you can tell.
Okay, well, thanks again, and we're going to wrap up the show here.
I got one more thing for you. If
Okay.
you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, that's a very good point. Why do it if you're not having fun? Because there's going to be struggles along the way, and if we can have fun doing it, it makes it a lot easier to get through those challenges, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, well, thanks.
Like to have fun.
Thanks again, Chris.
Sure thing, Phil, anytime.
Well, how many times a day do you find yourself struggling with business? Well, hopefully you got an idea or two from what you heard today in this episode of the Business Renovator. That's what we're here for, is to share the knowledge of other people and give you a nugget or two. I want to put this up because this reminds you about yourself and the people you work with on your team and hang out with in your families. The you represents you. You're unique. You are wonderful. You are wonderful. That's why this is created that way. So remember that you are wonderful and continue to be your wonderful self. Until next time, I'm Coach Phil, and I look forward to bringing up another guest and sharing another bit of knowledge in and around sales, marketing, and mental fitness. Until next time, I am still going to be Coach Phil.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm brave.